that somebody at the door? Yep. Who is it?
Hi. You can come down here with y'all. Oh, okay. We're on to, she's doing the Zoom on her here, I'm doing it on mine. You, our stuff is gonna be together. Okay. You can listen to her. And you can listen to
Hey. Why? Got it. Oh no, I was. Or my computer's muted. All right. So we're gonna get started, guys. Good afternoon. Thank everybody for coming to the second NCPre K meeting. I am with Vicky, so we're going to be sharing throughout the presentation on a couple of things. So it is 2:01. We have a couple of people here. So if you have to leave, remember it's being recorded, so that is perfectly fine. So you want to share your screen, Vicky?
Okay, welcome everyone. Like Carmen said, we're going to be going back and forth, sharing information with you. If you have any questions, you feel free to stop us. You can put in the chat and we'll try to keep an eye on that. And then we'll also have some question and answer at the end if you need time for that as well. So we're going to go ahead and get rolling. There's only a few of you in here, so it may not take us too long to go through this. And just bear with us. We're in the same office, and so technology with systems being this close together does not always work real well. So I want to make sure that that if anything, you can't see our screens, you can't hear well, if you got an echo, let us know, because we're trying to work through those kinks as we go. So thank you for another great year. Does anybody want to share any success stories that we might have had this past year that you may have experienced in your own classrooms, or anything related to NCPre K? If you've got anything you want to share, anybody moving around or doing anything new? All right. So to get us started, we're going to start with the basics and just cover the golden rules of NCPre K. So we need to make sure that all of you guys read and follow all the NCPre K requirements and child care rules. Ensure that high quality preschool is occurring for each child. We want to make sure that you submit documents and reports to the Smart Start office on time. Communicate with us about any behavior problems, attendance issues, staff changes, child changes, anything like that. Make sure that you stay in good contact with us. And then we need you to make sure that you maintain accurate, up-to-date NCPre K kids database. So all of that information that you're going to be putting in the database for your kids, we want to make sure that everything is up to date and current. So as things change, or as you do things throughout the year, make sure that you're keeping current with that. So we're going to start out with just the requirements and guidance as far as refresher and updates. So remember that the NCPre K year is 36 weeks, 5 days a week, or 10 months. Classrooms will operate a minimum of 6.5 hours per day. And your end of the year documentation for May and June, attendance is important. Attendance is projected for June and is mainly for financial reasons only. And then some sites, just keep in mind, depending on when you start, you may operate from August to May, or you may operate September to June. So those are going to be your operational months. There will be some considerations for mode of instruction for special circumstances. So just the 23-24 pre-K school year will start no later than September the 6th. All programs are encouraged to use the weeks before NCPre K instruction officially begins to conduct orientations, home visits, and to engage in personal development and training and anything that goes along the lines with that startup. The traditional in-person training is going to be our prominent mode of instruction. But if we have to go to remote learning for any reason, then it may be provided to children for a limited time in certain circumstances. That could be during like weeks prior to instruction starting on September the 6th for those home visits or orientation. If there were to be any like COVID clusters where there's 5 or more cases, and the NCPre K site and the local health department recommends that the site should close temporarily for cleaning or quarantine. Another option is if a child is not able to attend for an extended amount of time due to household members being sick with COVID or being quarantined, you can do some remote learning then. And then if the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services issues the directive that requires closure, then we could also go back to remote learning with that. Inclement weather and natural disasters would allow for remote learning. And then if a child becomes ill, if there's a military leave or a family emergency, then those things could be considered. And those things do need to be passed through Carmen first. So you would need to notify her immediately so that she could start working to find out about if there was a change to the mode of instruction needed. Anybody have any questions about that? Okay. So looking at home visits and staggered entry, this is a sample of what it's going to look like on the database, and we want you to make sure that you label all your days as operational days. So if you do home visits or you do staggered entry, even though it may be staggered entry and they're only going to be there half of them one day, half the next, or however you do that, make sure that that shows on the kids' database that it was an operational day so that you can be reimbursed for those days. For inclement weather, we recommend that you follow the local public schools as far as makeup days. When it comes to inclement weather, they have the options of sometimes Saturday school, extended hours. Other options would be extra days built into your calendars. A lot of the school systems have already started building in those extra days to their calendars. And then you can use teacher work days or vacation days to make up days. Just remember, if you need to do that, you need to make sure that your revised calendar is submitted to the office to Carmen so that we can get that taken care of on our end as far as documentation. We've got to make sure y'all get your days in. For the 23-24 program year, DCDEE will provide payments based on the traditional per-child attendance-based model. So it will not be like it was last year being paid per slot. And then we just want to make sure that you understand that you need to continue to recruit throughout the year to keep your classrooms full. And Carmen's going to take over from this section.
Okay. So the reimbursement rate for Davidson County has changed for the private rates. Now it is $719 per child per month. The public rate will still stay at $496 per child per month, and the reimbursement rate for to get the full reimbursement rate, the children, they must come at least 10 days or more. And if they come 10 days or less, then that's 50%. So that has not changed since last year. Next slide. The program attendance, as of last year, is the same with the attendance exceptions. I can grant those for any child that is out for the illness, or they've been in a hospital, military leave, family emergency, crisis, dealing with the family that they had to travel, a natural disaster, anything that's done to the center or the site itself, fire, water, loss of heating, air, etc. I will need documentation, like I've always needed. This year, I cannot grant any exception for any family that's having trouble with transportation. So if you're having a family that are having those type of issues that they can't get there, you can have them to call here to the center, to the office, and then we can, talk to them. But as far as trying to provide an alternative would be to move them to somewhere closer if possible. But other than that, there is nothing else that we can do. As far as I've reached out looking for transportation, but there is a fee if parents will need to do that for different type of agencies. So if you're asking for the exception, as usual, like, just communicate with me by phone or the email and just let me know that you need it. You can send the form. If you have a question about it before that, then of course you can call or you can email. But once you send that form with all of the documentation, I will look over it, and I'll see if I can grant it, and then we'll just go from there. And then there is an exception for COVID-19. It will be granted if a site or classroom closes, and the teacher must always provide remote learning in these cases. If that ever comes about, I can walk you through that to show you that what that will look like. So it didn't change from last year, but if you've never done the remote learning for something like that, then just reach out to me and I'll let you know that what you can do. Because if you do not provide the remote learning and I don't have proof of that, I can't grant you those days of being operational. So you're going to miss out on money. So just make sure that you reach out to me when that's concerned. The documentation that I can receive from each site with an exception is only a doctor's note for the illness. Of course, for the military leave and family things like that, yes, the family can actually just write a note, sign and date it. But as far as if they were out just because they were just sick, just a note from the parent saying that they were out sick, and please excuse them, is not acceptable. I will need a doctor's note. And I do understand that not every time that children are out that they go to the doctor, but this is a rule from DCDEE that if I'm going to grant you to receive funding for that day, I do have to get a note from the doctor. Okay. The next slide. Okay. And this is the form. It has not changed. It's the same form that we had last year. Just make sure that you fill out all of the information. So I don't have to reach back out to you to get any information. And so that won't delay me in getting your attendance report sent back to me. Next slide. So if you are asking for an exception, please make sure that you look at your attendance report, and where you see that it's highlighted, it says exception. If you do not see that, then that means that you are not granted the exception. So do not print your attendance until you see that. But it could also be that I didn't grant it to you, but I will always reach out to you in an email from the email that you sent the exception form in, and I will let you know that if you got granted and when you should print your attendance. So before you even send it, look over, because last year there were a lot of sites that were not getting paid full reimbursement and they were not looking at it closely. So just make sure, and if you see that your amount for one of the children is half, then that's probably because they did not attend the full 10 days. But if you can get an exception, please do try to do that. Next slide. Oh no, that's you. Okay.
Okay, so we want to make sure that there are absolutely no empty slots. Empty slots are no good. So we want every site to be recruiting. We are going to do everything we can to help you and promote the openings that we have through Facebook, you know, that kind of thing. But we need you to be recruiting too. So if you have slots available, somebody drops, and make sure you let us know, and then be recruiting in as many ways as you can. Our goal, of course, is to have all the slots to be filled. And just a note for directors and public school sites that have open slots, you'll need to send us the information on how you are recruiting, and that information needs to be sent in once a quarter. So if you have open slots, you'll send in October the 4th, January the 4th, and April the 4th about how you are working to recruit to get those slots filled. For nutrition, keep in mind that field trips, class supplies, and other fees may not be charged to the NCPre K families. However, in the public school sites, the partial or full cost of the meals may be charged when families do not qualify for free or reduced meals. With your child health assessments, they must be on file within 30 days. An assessment completed within the past 12 months can be accepted. You need to document receipt of that assessment by entering the date of that assessment into the kids' database. And that information must include a physical examination, immunizations, vision, hearing, and dental screenings. And if you need help requesting this from the parent, if you've requested and still haven't got a response or got the paperwork in, let us know so that Carmen can make contact as well and see if we can assist with that. For your child health assessments, remember that if you use the DCDEE child medical report form, that includes all of the required information. So it will have everything for the eyes, ears, nose, and teeth, and you will not need any other form for medical documentation. However, if you use the one that is available from the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, then you will need a separate DCDEE dental screening. Because it has to be, and it'll have to be filled out and filed with the health assessment as well. For developmental screenings, dial 4s must be completed on each child within 90 days or within 6 months prior to the first day of attendance. So if you've got a child that has maybe had a dial for screening for getting additional services, maybe speech or whatever, if that was done within 6 months before the first day, then you can use that. If not, you will need to complete that dial for yourself. The site level administrator must review all the developmental screening results and share those results with the families. And then you also must document completion by entering the date of the screening in the kids' database. For early learning standards and curricula, make sure that displayed lesson plan forms must be displayed lesson plans must be posted and include at the minimum a study topic, changes to the environment or in the centers. They must have small group activities. They will need the connections to NC failed or gold objectives for the activities that teachers will collect formative assessment data to track for each student's development. And then you will need to make sure that you have family involvement opportunities. Lesson plan forms must include at a minimum plans for working with the individual children that include linking to the NC failed or gold objectives that will focus on but be the focus of the teaching and the assessments. And these notes should begin identified by either name or initial. And just due to privacy, we typically recommend that you use initials. Formative assessment. Everyone is expected to use the online version of teaching strategies. The teacher and teacher assistant should collect ongoing assessment data for each child by gathering information about what children know and do, how they interact with other children, adults, and how they process information and solve problems. Use this information to tailor instruction to the individual needs of each child. Discuss the assessment information with the teacher assistant as you plan for each child, and then review the child's progress with his or her family. Keep in mind that if your assistant teacher doesn't know what's going on and what is the goal for that child, then they can't properly assist you the way they need to make sure that that child's needs are met. So if you work collaboratively and allow the assistant teacher to have access to the plans and the goals, then you're going to provide a better experience for that child in your classroom. With family engagement, we want to make sure that you keep a log of activities, opportunities, or communication in each classroom for review, or submit documentation monthly. A newsletter is often the easiest method of documentation. The lesson plan can be another source of documentation. And then additionally, Ready Rosie is also provided for all the NCPre K programs in order to support increased engagement and partnership with families. NCPre K classrooms are required to enroll all the families in the Ready Rosie solution and must incorporate Ready Rosie resources into their existing family engagement plans. For the 23-24 additional guidance, then you're going to do the, you're going to have site level staff flexibilities. And this is all going to be in the packet. Required to follow the health and safety guidance outlined in the Child Care Strong North Carolina Public Health Toolkit. Your NCPre K teacher assistants must have their CDA or an associate degree in early childhood or related by 24-25 school year. And then transition to kindergarten reports are also expected.
Okay, for the CDA requirement for teacher assistant. So if any TA does not have an associate's degree in early childhood or hold a CDA, you will need to actually get this before 24-25 school year. DCDEE has said that they will give that flexibility until next year, but if you do not have it, a TA cannot teach in an NCPre K classroom without that. So down below it says what I just said to, you need to hold or be working towards an associate's degree, and that is for the year 23-24. These are the things that you need to be doing: birth through kindergarten, child development, early childhood education, or early childhood related field. The teacher assistant working towards an associate's degree shall make the progress by completing a minimum of 6 documented semester hours per year. Teaching strategy has no cost to the CDA coursework. So now you can go into teaching strategies and actually take that coursework. An additional scholarship is available for the CDA through Teach. So if you go through Teach, you be able to get more information on that. And as always, complete your 15 hours of your annual in-service professional development training. That can be a combination of college coursework or continuing education units. And also the letters training, which if there is a new teacher that taking the letters training, that can count, those hours can count as part of the 15 hours as well. Does anybody have any questions about the CDA? Okay, next slide. Changes in the NCPre K staff. So anytime there is a change in there, please let me know immediately, because if the degree is not in early childhood or a field that is related, most likely I cannot use that person in that classroom. So I don't want you have a delay in payment in that class or have to pay money back for that class. So please let me know and go to Survey Monkey link and fill out if there's a staff change in administrator, principal, teacher assistant, or lead teacher. Fill that form out completely. Upload the credentials for that person so I can enter that into plan, and then let you know if the teacher, was approved or if I need any more documentation. This year, DCDE is still waiving the 12-week limitation for long-term subs and the interim administrators as well. And there will be no lower rates will be assigned to the classroom if there is someone in there that does not hold their, like, a teacher license or the principal license for those classrooms. So transition to kindergarten. The contact form, again, will actually be in SurveyMonkey, and it will be shared with all of the NCPre K teachers. We ask that you share this with the families. Use the iPads that you have in your classroom and have the parents to actually fill out this information, because this information is sent to the public school system to where that child will be going to school at. So the data manager can actually reach out to these families to make sure that these children are registered for kindergarten. Participation in transition to kindergarten is required by public and private sites. And that is a SurveyMonkey link. Again, it will be sent out, and it's simply just going to ask, do you want to participate? You will say yes, and then it's going to ask you, how many kits do you need for English or Spanish? And then you will put that in there. Last year, I had a lot of teachers that said that they did not want to participate, but it's not anything that is optional. It's required by all NCPre K classrooms to participate. The transition to kindergarten reports are required by private and public sites. And I just want to thank all of the teachers that have been doing a great job with this. This will actually be, I think, our third year doing transition to kindergarten reports. And so they will be due, like they've always been due, at the end of May. So just make sure that you are all of your documentation is in teaching strategies for your assessments, your checkpoints, and then you'll be able to create a transition to kindergarten report. As one of the things to make transition to kindergarten a success for children, we ask that our private sites will contact the public schools and share the information with their families about kindergarten registration, screening, and their orientation. We ask that you continue to plan field trips with children so they can have that experience, and then read books about going to kindergarten and encourage your families to do the same. Monitoring. The monitoring tool will be sent out October 1st. It's due back October 31st. Make sure that you review all your sources and that they are accessible when we come out to conduct the visit. And monitor visits will be made starting November through January. So that is the same tool. It hasn't changed. The teacher can fill it out, but however, the teacher cannot sign it. So if the teacher actually does the observation in her class and she fills out that monitoring tool, a administrator or a director must sign that. And then after I receive that from you, I will actually email you and ask, I will give you a couple of days and times that I can actually come out to your classroom, and you just pick from there. And then I will come out and I will monitor your site. And I will send a checklist back so you'll know what things that I'm going to be looking for. And the purpose of this is to make sure that you are in compliance. So when DCDEE comes out to do their unannounced or their not announced, unannounced visit, they do the unannounced visit. When they come out to do that, it's not a surprise to you. So if you're doing, what you're supposed to be doing in the beginning and continue that, and then if I come out and I monitor you and make sure you have everything in compliance, then you should be okay when they actually come out. If I find anything that I cannot locate or I have a question about, I will do a follow-up with you, and I do like a week time frame for you to get that information back to me. It's not a negative charge on you. It's just saying that this is what I found, and this is, I'm going to give you a week to actually get it, because again, I'm trying to support you. So when DCDEE comes out, that you have the information on file.
Okay, so let's look at the site contribution for fall and spring. There is a required site contribution form that will be sent out to all of the providers. We will let you know when to expect that through email. NCPre K reimbursement rates do not cover 100% of the cost of running an NCPre K classroom. And so that's what we use. We use these site contribution forms to show the expenses that you actually provide and cover in providing that service. NCPre K sites are required to access other types of funding, and that's required. This is a required report for the state to be informed on the actual cost of providing high quality care. Site contribution guidelines is there's no specific percentage that's required for your site contribution. The resources documented should be necessary expenses for the NCPre K program only, should be allowable cost, and should not include services before and after the 6.5 hour classroom day. Some of the terminology that you're going to see is certified, which is document, cash resources, which is an actual cash expense, and that will show in your November through or your July through November contribution form. The documentation is required. Calculations should be included for your review, and so those calculations, you can break it down to how you got the total number for each contribution. And then your estimated, which is to document in-kind resources, which are any non-cash expenses that you can incur while operating an NCPre K program. If you get to this point and you have any questions when your form comes out, contact us. We do make sure that you have instructions with it. There's usually notes on the form. So we will be here to help you if you need that. This is our approved funding sources. You can use Title I, and then it tells you how to calculate that. You can use CACFP funds, exceptional children's funding, local appropriations, which is the estimated value of the classroom, the playground, and the joint use space for North Carolina pre-K children in public facilities, and then private provider funds. And that is an amount that the provider normally charges for a 6.5-hour day, less the NCPre K childcare payment, and then less any other funding sources. And you get that total that represents the actual provider's in-kind contribution and the expense of that to that provider. So we're going to look at some important documents. And this one's yours, Carmen.
Mhm. All right, so there has been an update for this year. So this year, you can submit your classroom attendance report and your request for payment electronically, which you have been doing your attendance, but now it's the request for payment. So you do not have to bring it to the office. You can actually send all of that to me via email. So I'm excited about that. So I hope you guys are too. And more things will be coming in DocuSign. So before, where I would say I need your original signature, I'm going to be sending out DocuSign, so you won't need to actually bring in those things as well. Next slide. So the monthly paperwork that's required each month when it's time to turn in your attendance is due the 5th business day of the month. Sometimes it could be the 3rd or the 4th. It just depends on how the 5th falls in that month. But you will need to have the signed request for payment. That is your invoice. That is actually done by coordinators and the director. That would need to be signed. Like I said, you can send that via email, and actually I've gotten those today. So if you haven't received yours, we'll be sending them out before the end of today. Your classroom attendance report, you will send that along with your invoice. If you have any student withdrawal forms, you will send those. Your student withdrawal forms, you can actually send those throughout the month. You do not have to wait to the end of the month. I prefer you to send it to me as soon as you know that a child is leaving. You had it confirmed with the parent. You send me that form, and then I will withdraw that child. And if I have anybody to replace them with, I will. Your student exception forms, that's the form I was saying that if I can grant you an exception to get full reimbursement, you will send that first before printing your attendance, and then I will get back with you to let you know if it's been granted and when you can print your attendance. You will need to send 1 week of lesson plan per classroom. It doesn't matter which week that you send, it's just only 1 week. And then I would need each classroom newsletter. The cafeteria menu is not a newsletter, so do not send that, but send a newsletter, and it can be as simple as a calendar, and then you just write in what you are going to do for that month, and then your absentee log, and this is only for children that have been absent for 3 or more consecutive days. This must be signed by an administrator. So the teacher, you keep a log of that. That is one of the things that I will be looking for when I come out to monitor. So make sure you have that where I can find it. And so if you have children that have been out more than 3 days, then you would just, document that information, put the child's name, put the dates that you have contacted them, the dates that they have been out, and then have your administrator sign it, and you will send that along. And the communication form, if you have one of those, you can. That's just an extra form that if you have more information about a child being out absent, or if there's like you have some challenging behaviors in the classroom, you've been speaking with the parent or anything, and you want me to be informed about it, then you can actually just send that as well. Is there any questions about the monthly paperwork? All right, next one. So please return Friday, September the 9th, if there have been staff changes. I know there are still staff changes being made. So again, make sure you go to SurveyMonkey, fill out the correct link. And this is for teachers and any new administrators. The designee forms, this is documentation for a person to sign that who is authorized to sign your monthly attendance in the absence of the principal, director, or preschool coordinators. That form again will be sent out, probably DocuSign, so you can actually get that signed and send that back to me. And I said form is due by Friday, September 8th. I'm not really sure why I said September 8th. That probably was a last
It
year's
is
date.
September the 8th, this Friday.
It's not the 9th.
No.
Okay.
The 9th is on Saturday.
So it will be due on September 8th, but I always will send out an email just to remind everybody on, what I need if you haven't sent it. So don't worry about it. I'll send a reminder out. Next slide. These are other forms, and these are designed to improve communication and to decrease the loss of payment. So again, the withdrawal form, the new student confirmation, I will start including that with new applications that I scan over to sites on September 29th. If you could just fill this form out once the child has actually started, that is the confirmation for me. So I know that I can add the child to kids. And then again, the student exception form, just make sure that if you're asking for that you give the right documentation, and then I can see if I can grant that to you. And you can submit all these forms by email. You do not have to bring these forms here. And also, there is a 23-24 additional guidance. That was all. We had one last year. They started that since COVID. I will be sending that out to teachers and providers. You can actually, because whatever information that I give to you, I'm referring back to that one. And then the program requirements and guidance, that is the big menu that I'll send out, but you can actually use that one too, but you probably most likely will refer to the guidance one with that one. So next slide. So your operational days, your calendar is due. So all of these things are going to be due by September 8th. So your calendar, I need everyone to send me their calendar, private sites. I ask for them to follow the school system calendar. Make sure that your calendar has for teacher holidays. Teacher work days. There are 5 days, and that is required. So I actually do count those days to make sure that you have 5 days in there. Make sure you include your holidays, your parent conference. You should have at least 2 days, and then include your home visit days, your orientation or open house, include your staggered entry days, and then your makeup days for weather. Does anybody have any questions about the calendar? All right, next one. Class list. So if you have a site that has multiple classrooms, please send me a list of those children and where they're supposed to go. What I have told some teachers that have reached out to me is that I'm not placing the kids, I'm not going to place the students into the kids database until next week, because what happens is when I place them in a classroom, and then when you get ready to do your attendance and you let me know that they never showed up, It's very hard to take them out of there if there are no attendance days. So I'm waiting to until the very last minute until I can actually add those. So I ask that if you have any child that you have not been able to reach out to, and just let me know. And then if we need to take them off the list, then I'll take them off the list. And then if you have any parents that have declined, also you can send me an email with those kids' names, and then I will take them off and try to replace those with other children. So you can plan to pick up the Dow 4 items. If you could send me an email and let me know that how many that you need and when you're coming, so I can have those ready for you. And then I will email you the documents that I've been talking about, like the withdrawal form, the exception form, the requirement, and the guidance. I will actually send you those, and I'll send you the health, not the health, I will send you the child medical form just in case that if you need that. Anything else that you need, you can reach out to me and just ask, and I will be happy to send you that. And the designate form, like I said, that may be a DocuSign. I just have to check to make sure, but I'll make sure that I send that out next month as well. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So these are questions, comments, and concerns. So if anybody has any, you can put in the chat, or you can unmute yourself and you can ask those right now, or you can email me later. Okay, so Vicky said she don't have anything in the chat. So we will go to our very last slide, and this says that this year is going to be awesome. I do appreciate all of the teachers that were here last year. I can go ahead and say I appreciate the teachers for this year and administrators, and I'm here to support you as much as I can. Vicky does the TA in the classroom, so anything that you need, feel free to reach out to us with anything. I told the first group, like on Tuesdays, I am actually in the office processing applications as they come in. So I am not available for the phone on Tuesdays, but you can shoot me an email and I will respond to you. I try to respond before the day is up. Sometimes I don't get a chance, so it will be the next day. I do not mind if I don't respond to you and you send another one. That is perfectly fine, because sometimes I can overlook it or think that I have responded and I didn't. So if anyone doesn't have any questions, then that will be the end of our meeting. And I thank everyone for coming. And again, if you have any questions later, feel free to email me, and I'm going to be sending out all of those forms in about 30 minutes. So thank you everyone for coming, and we're done.
All right. Thanks, bye.